Hey guys, welcome to Musings of a COVID-19 Youth Pastor. And today, as we're talking about redeeming the time, I wanted to tell you one of my favorite days or ways to make use of the time that I have. Whether I'm running or exercising or doing dishes or in the car, they all have one thing in common. It's easy for me to listen to podcasts. I love listening to podcasts to grow in my understanding of the Bible, to grow in my understanding of current topics, also to grow in my understanding of just all things having to do with our faith and life in Jesus. And so I want to point out to you today 3 of my favorite podcasts. The first one that I listen to probably almost every week is the Holy Post podcast. It is done by 3 people: Sky Chitani, who is a Christian author, pastor, and speaker; then Christian Taylor, who is a longtime Christian, a voiceover actor; and then last, the person you've probably heard of is Phil Vischer. He's the guy who did VeggieTales, and so most of you are probably familiar with him if you've been in the Christian world for a long time. He's the VeggieTale guy. Now, this podcast is not for kids. It is for probably teenagers and older. It's a podcast where they talk about stuff in the Bible. They talk about current events. They basically talk about everything going on in the church, in our world, through a Christian lens. I love their tagline. It's something to the effect of thinky, Christian-y, and funny. It is a very entertaining podcast. I would definitely recommend it. They also have guests on there, usually weekly, people that are making an impact in the church and the world, usually people that are Christians, but sometimes they interview people who aren't Christians and just talk to them about faith and life. It's good stuff. So the second podcast I want to recommend is the Bible Project podcast. If you've ever wanted to go to seminary or attend a seminary class, but you didn't have time or the money, the Bible Project podcast is what you're looking for. They go incredibly in-depth on topics of Scripture. They've done a series on Luke. They've done a series on Acts. They've done a series on what the Bible means when it uses the word spirit or soul or mankind. They did, right now they're doing a series that I think is 6 episodes, about 1-hour episodes on parables and how to understand them. It is excellent biblical content from one of the United States' top biblical scholars, Tim Mackey, from the Bible Project. It's good stuff. Then the last podcast I want to recommend is the Ask N.T. Wright Anything podcast. N.T. Wright, if you don't know who he is probably the world's foremost expert on the New Testament, probably one of the world's most famous Bible scholars. He's written over 80 books. He is a great follower of Jesus, wonderful guy. And you can listen to this podcast. It's usually about 30 minutes. It's also free. You can listen to the podcast. And basically the host, Justin Brierley from Premier Christian Audio over in the UK, he asks N.T. Wright questions, and it's just awesome. You can kind of scroll through all the episodes they have available, and just a lot of really good topics that N.T. Wright discusses there. So those are the 3 podcasts that I listen to. I would encourage you probably have some time where you're listening to content already. Whether you listen to my top 3 or really any podcast, I'd make sure that you use some of your time that you're listening to music or podcast to grow closer to God. So that's my hope for you, and it's something I've enjoyed doing. And so thanks again for watching Musings. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.